December 1927. My family consisted, when I was growing up, I was fortunate. I had both sets of grandparents as a little boy. And of course, my parents, and I had one brother younger than I. My paternal grandparents were English and came to this country in the 1880s. My grandfather worked for an English company that eventually acquired a lot of the timberland in southwest Louisiana. And that's how he got to Lake Charles. When I was a boy, Lake Charles was a town of about 20,000 people. And it was just a wonderful sized place to grow up. And I grew up in a block that had 14 little boys in it. And that, of course, has been an eternal blessing because we had a gang, and we didn't have organized sports in those days. We didn't have recreation departments or things like that. So we made up our games, and it was you get home after school and we all knew where we were going to meet. And we had a lot of fun growing up. My education really began at the Paradise School for Children, which was a kindergarten run by two very wonderful old ladies. And I spent a year and a half with them and then went to the elementary or grade school for my area, which we called Central School in those days. I skipped the first grade because I knew basically how to read and write and do minor arithmetic from kindergarten. Went through grammar school, went to high school at Old Lake Charles High School. By the time I finished high school, I would consider my high school education to be routine, but it was 1944. The war was at its height, and I was both a little young at that time, but it didn't make any difference because I was 4F anyway. I had some serious kidney problems as a kid, and so I went to LSU at age 16. I got to be a junior in the College of Chemical Engineering down at the old sugar chemistry building, and taking nothing but math and science courses, when I happened to have a health problem again, and I had to stay out of school at the beginning of the year, which I guess must have been 46. No, the fall of 45. And later I checked with the dean of the engineering's office, and they told me I could register as late as a certain day in October. So that was fine. I went down a couple of days early and presented myself, and when they started taking all the notes and they wanted to know what branch of the service I was in, I said I wasn't in the service. And they said, oh, well, you can't register late if you weren't in the service. And man, I got mad and let them know what I thought about it and had to go home. So I spent one semester out at McNeese Junior College. When the end of that semester came, I went down to LSU to law school and talked Dean McMahon into allowing me to be a provisional student because I did not have the background for it. At that time, you could do 3 years, and if you had your courses, the right courses, that you could take your 4th year there as your first year in law school. But I didn't have the right courses. And the dean's recommendation was that I go back to undergraduate school and finish out what I needed to and then come see him. And I said, no, I can't do that. I don't have the time. And I had good grades, and he agreed to let me try. So I went in. He said if I couldn't make a C+, he'd kick me out. The professors at LSU Law School in those days, they were great fellows, and also ladies. Miss Daggett was still holding forth. The man that probably impressed me the most, it's probably a surprising choice, was Dale Bennett. Dale Bennett was just as nice a human being as you'd ever run into. He was very supportive and very friendly toward the students. Not all of the professors adopted that attitude. I graduated from law school when I was 20. So I wasn't able to practice law. You had to be 21. I guess you still do have to be 21 to practice law. But in that year, which was 1948, we had the bar exam. And if you were not a veteran, you had to take the bar exam. The veterans were comped. So I spent the month of June studying for the bar exam, went to New Orleans and took it, and luckily passed it. There's a law firm in New Orleans. I went down to see them and got an offer from them. And since I had no other offer and I know what I was going to do, I immediately accepted. And that sent me off to New Orleans. I went into the firm of Deutsch, Kerrigan, and Stiles as a baby lawyer at $200 a month, which was the going rate. You have to remember the time. It was 1948. And the world was really just getting itself together after the war. Everything was booming. I was as I remember it, the 9th lawyer in Deutsch Kerrigan. They had what I would call a business practice wing, an admiralty wing. Deutsch ran the business practice. A man named Harry Stiles ran the admiralty work, and Emmett Kerrigan ran the insurance side of the office. They were all outstanding men. And I worked under Deutsch, which was a tremendous, tremendous education. My problem was I couldn't practice law. This was August. I wasn't 21 until December. My boss was somewhat upset about that because I hadn't told him. But I got put to work, and very, very rapidly. And I'd go to court with guys like Breard Snellings, who spent his life down there. Because I couldn't practice law, I got all of the grunt details in the office. And in those days, that was normal practice. The most junior lawyer did a court run, updated the services in the library, took care of the advance sheets and all that kind of stuff. We didn't have law clerks in those days. But finally the day came in early December when I got sworn in and could actually go to court. And it wasn't long before I had an opportunity to try my first case. We had a little case that involved real estate and whether or not electric water coolers were part of the building that went with the sale, or whether they remained movable or removables by what destination, or whether they were movables that you could take with you. And I got to try the case. It was before Judge Walter Hamlin, And the good news was that I was the defendant. So I got to see what the plaintiff lawyer did first. I'm serious about that. You'll never guess who the plaintiff lawyer was. It was one of the most distinguished lawyers in the city of New Orleans, Louis Lemley. And we tried the case somehow. I wish I'd won it. We didn't. I lost it. I didn't get into any type of major specialty work until I left Deutsch and went into a law firm with two friends of mine, Warren Farish and Frank Emmett. We did a lot of admiralty law, and somehow or another, and at this point I'm really not quite sure, I got involved in surety work. I had the very fortunate experience at Deutsch to do a lot of work for a large construction company named W. Horace Williams Company. They morphed into Williams McWilliams, and where they are now, I think they're gone now. But I'd done a lot of construction work, and that threw me into surety work. And I did develop a specialty in surety law and construction law. I married in 1952, and to a lady from the Mississippi Delta, Frances Fields. We had 4 children together, boy, girl, just like I knew what I was doing. And after about 25 years, we got divorced. I remarried a lady from Alabama who was a physician. We've been married since and still are. My experience in Louisiana with the courtroom and with the judges who run the courtroom have been virtually all good. Well, I practiced law for 59 years, and except for the last couple of years, practiced hard at it. I loved every single minute of it. And I wasn't wild about trial preparation. I hated depositions. Discovery drove me crazy. But trying the lawsuit in the courtroom was like throwing a fish in a barrel of water. I really liked it. I have a little ham in me, I guess.